On the Money Sports Lounge. It is the Mega Powers bringing you the latest edition of the uncensored, unfiltered podcast on the Money Podcast, to be exact, live with another edition, bringing you what we do best, better than anybody else. And tonight, a little bit of a special edition. I know that we've been saying that for a couple of weeks, but it's just a very, 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 very important part of the NFL season, because we finally have our wildcard matchups. So here on this podcast, we will go over the wildcard matchups that will go down this weekend on Super Wildcard Weekend. And we will also take a few steps back to our illustrious wildcard predictions from back in August. It's going to be a loaded podcast. So without further ado, alongside me, as always, is none other than Oscar Money Means.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? What's up, Mike? Mike is in there.
What's going on, bud?
It is Super Wild Card Weekend.
And the Steelers made it. Thanks to the Tennessee Titans. And also to themselves, because they had to win.
the red-nosed reindeer.
They had to win their game, because if you guys would have lost, then us beating the Jags wouldn't have mattered, right? If you guys lose.
We would have still got in.
So you just needed us to beat the Jaguars.
If we had lost, we would have still got in, because the Jaguars lost and the Raiders lost. So no matter what happened, we were going to the damn thing.
What up, Bobby? What up, Serge? Guys are checking in.
Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer
new edition of On the Money
had
podcast.
a very shiny nose. Woo-hoo-hoo! What up, Rob? I wish you guys would give this app the permission to show your information on there.
We're following along.
I'll send you guys the links again afterwards. That way the viewers can see our faithful day ones of the On the Money Sports group, from the Facebook page to the forum.
I'm thinking about going to the game. Tickets are cheap.
It's cheap because it's going to feel like -3 degrees with a 45-mile-per-hour wind. Oh, and did I mention that supposedly 4 to 5 inches of lake effect snow is supposed to drop during that game?
It's going to be extremely unpleasant to be out there.
It smells like Steeler football.
Yeah, we'll get to that. We'll get to that game. We're going to break down the wild card matchup.
Thank you.
And we're going to compare.
Thank you.
No problem. It's the least we can do. Go out with a bang, and once again spoil the party for the Jaguars, which is something that we've been historically.
Who said that? All that singing for now.
Yeah, well, Bills are.
I ain't afraid of no Buffalo Bills. Y'all can talk. Listen, the Bills have been great in the last 6 weeks. I mean, the last 5 weeks. But let's not act like he wasn't trying to give the game to Miami on Sunday night, because he sure as hell was in the first half. It's just Miami's coach overthought the whole situation and stopped running Devin A-Chain in the second half, which made absolutely no sense.
Miami honestly cooled off in the second half of this year. They were red hot in the beginning of the season. And all that being said, they still have yet to beat a good team. And they can't beat a good team. And
that's just like sadness from the inside out.
That's been the story. Oh, it's been a long day, bro. It's been a super long day. And it's not even about the Titans. To hell with them, because those idiots, they do it to themselves. It's just been.
You're right, Serge. It made no sense to stop the run.
The problem with Miami, though, is the fact that the Miami Dolphins have just not been that red-hot team that took a lot of us into the, that point in the fantasy season where we were looking at those records of 7-2 and saying to ourselves, like, we made the playoffs and Miami's going to light it up for us when the playoffs come. Not having Tyreek there for that big Week 15 matchup, and just the brand of football that Miami has played in the last couple of weeks. If anything, like, as the Bills got better, the Dolphins regressed. And we knew heading into this matchup.
Well, the Dolphins also started getting banged up.
The Bills beat the brakes off of them.
Both their pass rushers. I blame Mike McDaniels for Bradley Chubb. There was no reason for Bradley Chubb to be in that game when they were losing to the Ravens the way they were losing to them. The game was over. He should have been taken out of the game, and quite possibly this never happens. However, the Miami Dolphins are wounded badly. The number 2 wide receiver that everybody bitches about, who's actually really good, was hurt. Raheem Mostert was hurt, but it didn't matter with the Raheem Mostert part because Devin Achane was running the rock. And then Miami just decided to stop running the ball and say, Tua, go sling it, papa. And he was slinging all right, just like Josh was, throwing picks left and right.
Yeah. But, I mean, again, by comparison, as bad as the Bills looked about a month ago, they have turned it around. And with Miami, they lost to this Bills team fully staffed. You know, they got the brakes beat off of them
earlier in the year, yeah.
So I already knew
the Bills are wounded going into this game too. Rasul Douglas
knows how to play Miami, I should say, and the Miami Dolphins still haven't beaten a good team, you know, and it's just something that is,
however,
tied to them heading into the postseason.
I still have confidence in going into to Saturday night because I have no confidence in the wide receivers of the Kansas City Chiefs, including Travis Swift.
It's going to be like 0 degrees in Kansas City. It's going to be 0 degrees in Kansas City with Miami going up against a Chiefs team that they lost to, you know, out in Germany. And I don't know, bro. Like, I if anything,
that
this
game,
is the point
I still
in
don't
time
understand why that game was in Germany.
I don't know either.
Right? Like that
at 9:30 in the morning.
That game should have been an 8 o'clock. Yeah. Like, we got robbed of that.
Well, they gave it to us in the morning. They gave it to us in the morning. And again, like, when you look at that matchup between those two teams, I couldn't imagine a better first-round matchup for the Kansas City Chiefs than the Miami Dolphins. Now, the rest of the way, I'm not so sure as far as the chances for this Kansas City team. But like a lot of teams that are in Super Wildcard Weekend, we're going to have to see what they actually look like on the field. You know, some of these matchups did happen during the season, some didn't. And when some of these matchups happened, key players weren't involved in those matchups. I don't even think we got a Packers-Cowboys game this year, did we?
No, we did not.
We didn't get Packers-Cowboys. We didn't get Lions-Rams. So there's a couple. And then we got Eagles versus Bucks, and the Eagles beat them 25-11. But with that, you know, I'll just hold it because I don't want this. That's all we need for today is for this thing to slide off.
How about this? I'll push this
I
a little
don't mind
more.
holding it. There you go. I'll just hold the tablet. We'll go off of that.
Okay, right there. That way you can see all the comments.
Sorry, folks. It's like I said, it's just been a super hectic day. Hoping that everybody is doing okay from the crazy ass weather that we had yesterday, which did a whole bunch of damage all over the area. Hoping that everybody's power is coming back on. We didn't lose power, but unfortunately our fence got absolutely demolished in the backyard.
I am blessed to say that nothing crazy happened here.
That's good.
When I got those crazy skinny trees.
It was wild out here.
And I was watching the one oak tree just like going like that. I said, oh my gosh. And I just told myself, I said, stop looking out the window.
Those windstorms.
And then Crystal kept looking, and I said, Chris, stop looking, because we're just going to be nervous wrecks. So don't bother.
Those windstorms make you realize how big some of these trees are in the area when they just start swaying ominously. Heather said the trees were bending, so I was just like,
yes.
Oh, boy.
I took a moment, went to the room with the lights off, nothing in there, and just prayed to the Lord Almighty and asked him just to protect everyone and ensure that everything be all right.
We were watching. We had hockey on, and I had basketball on my phone, lights on in the living room. So we were just up there, just chilling. What's going on, guys? What up, Chris? Got two Chris's checking in at the same time. So due to the damage that was done to the fence, I woke up this morning, and the first thing that I did was to put the fence up as properly as I could because of the fact that we have two dogs that we let roam free in the backyard. So I had to make it dog-proof. I had to dog-proof the backyard once again so that my girls could roam free because the gate door got ripped off its hinges. This shit was on the ground when we went outside at 8:39 in the morning. In the process of establishing order in my backyard, I lost my phone. So I am
And
without
just in
my phone.
case, to
I
put
can't go live on
context,
Facebook.
where he lost it, it's like a damn jungle.
Yeah, it's like a jungle. It's beyond where my yard is, and it fell into the never-ending whirlwind of twigs and trees and dirt and a bunch of other shit that I spent an hour looking for it, couldn't. Went to Verizon. When I got to Verizon, I actually met Nick Dooley and Slick Rick in person because they were both on the clock. I ended up getting another phone. It just was, my information is tied to my old phone number, and today was not kind to me whatsoever. But yet here we are. It's On the Money podcast. The show goes on, and we have a lot that we need to break down, hoping that everybody is good where they are right now. They weathered the storm. They got their power back, and hopefully their fence wasn't all screwed up, and they have their actual phones safely where they need to be. Just hold on to them. Just hold on to them. Don't put them in this pocket when you're trying to do labor outside, because you're not going to be paying attention, and that shit slips out and falls into the never-ending crevices of nature. So
I have a hoodie that
don't be like me.
Fall out quick.
Don't be like me. At the end of the day,
I'm pretty sure I left an asthma pump in Pittsburgh because of that hoodie.
Jesus. I'm always texting my brother about his asthma pump. But yeah, that in a nutshell has been the last 24 hours. Not to mention losing money on the Dallas Mavericks last night because they looked like utter garbage going up against the Memphis Grizzlies without Ja Morant. But I should have known better, because last year we talked about the fact that when Ja Morant isn't on the court, this Memphis team turns up a couple notches, and that's exactly what happened yesterday. Not to mention, I think the Mavs kind of took them lightly with some of the shot selections I was seeing in the first quarter. Mavs don't have
offense.
They don't have a rim presence. They were getting out rebounded by Biyombe and the other guy that was on the Grizzlies. Desmond Bane went out there and put on a show and literally just took the game over with the shots that he was making.
Steph's numbers are horrible this year. 27.1 points per game, only a 40% three-point field goal percentage. He's not Steph.
Yeah. It's not the same. It's not the same for Golden State right now. They're in a position right now where they're barely hanging on. They're actually not. They're like in 11th or 12th place, so they're not really hanging on. They don't have a spot because it's top 10. They're sitting out there right now with the Los Angeles Lakers.
Yeah, it's in their best interest
teams
to trade Klay Thompson.
I don't know, the value that you would get off of him now compared to when you could have traded him is just, and I think that with Steve Kerr, it's about them wanting to. He doesn't want to get rid of his core group. They want to end it together.
Raptors
they want to go off into the sunset.
On the refs.
Oh yeah, he cut a promo on the refs because of the amount of times the Lakers got to the free throw line, and he just wasn't thrilled with what went down last night. I was so disgusted by the Mavericks game that I didn't bother to tune into the Raptors and Lakers because honestly,
that money and you were like, the hell.
Yeah, once your leg is shot to hell, why am I gonna continue watching? I had Raptors plus 4.5, but who cares? Who cares about that leg at that point? It's shot. It's done. There's no recouping it. Mavericks cost me everything, and now I can't even get into my DraftKings Sportsbook because it's attached to my old phone number. So no betting for me this weekend during Super Wildcard weekend.
And you're mad about that one.
No betting at all. Just I made the one bet, and it's still sitting in there right now.
Cash.
It's all right.
I got you, dog.
It's all right. I you know what? The way today has gone, I think it's just a sign that I just need to wait until next week to continue making any wagers after losing the 50 in basketball. And losing my phone and not being able to get in, I'm gonna wait till my phone gets here on Monday, and then I'll be able to have all my information, get back into my DraftKings Sportsbook, and look at the teams that actually take the next step into the divisional round. Have a clearer picture of the playoff picture, because right now, even though it's Super Wildcard weekend, even though there's only 14 teams left, this wildcard picture and this playoff picture still looks murky. There's still a lot that can go down, including the wild card of all wild card games, which is going to be the Monday nighter It's very, very interesting matchups that we're gonna look at. We're gonna compare to the matchups that we had because we need a good laugh. We're gonna talk about what we got.
Damn,
right
brother,
and
just
what
coming
we got
at
wrong.
you.
Yeah, and our coach got fired too. So our coach also got fired.
I want to say I commend you, Mike Vrabel, on an admirable job this past Sunday, my man. Your old number 56 came out.
Definitely handle business.
As anybody is friends with me on Facebook, you've seen the story I posted. I need a hero to save me.
Well, I mean, does it say more about Jacksonville though? The fact that they knew they had to win the game and just
all they had to do was win and they were in.
Like they knew we were the underdogs and that we could upset them already. You know what I mean? Like they knew that going into the game.
I had such an easy night on Sunday afterwards.
A 3-game winning streak on us, right? Like they had all of those things heading into Tennessee, and they had the advantage. You saw the touchdown that Calvin Ridley got.
Yeah, but they've only beat. You know why I had confidence when nobody had confidence in Tennessee? For the fact that Jacksonville's only beaten Tennessee in Tennessee once in the last 10 years.
Yeah, their record is not very
good. I saw that,
that was last year.
I went like this. I was looking at the paper that I was reading of.
And last year's Jacksonville team was a lot better than this team. It's not that.
And I should have took the Titan money line only and the Derrick Henry touchdown, and I would have won myself $45. Yeah. But no, I picked like 10 money lines. And out of the 10,
a lot of them did not.
2 of them did not hit.
And you know who lost?
The Patriots. I don't know why I picked the Patriots. I figured it's snowing, it's windy.
10% battery on this bad boy.
That's all right. Let it die. I thought the Jets. I was like, the Jets haven't beaten the Patriots since God knows when. I was like, there's no way they're winning, even as bad as New England is. I picked the Bears to beat the Packers because the Bears have been playing really good football since Justin Fields came back from injury.
I picked the Packers,
and those two went. On me.
I picked the Packers.
And then I'm watching this guy from the I picked Packers money line, Jaden Reed touchdown. All of a sudden, Jaden Reed doesn't, we don't want to throw to him in the end zone.
Hey, I got nothing to say. He won me a championship, so I got nothing. I got no bad things to say against Jaden Reed.
So it was
he did not get me
the
touchdown I needed. Derrick Henry got me the touchdown I needed, but I should have just bet him straight up. Or I should have, like you said, parlayed him with the Titans money line. And called it a day on
everybody thought I was crazy that the Titans were going to win. Everybody at work were like, they're not going to win.
No, I said, dog,
the Titans are going to win that game.
I had a feeling they would. I didn't, there was nothing that made me confident about Jacksonville. And knowing our history in these games where Jacksonville needs it the most and they have to go up against us, we just always, we always take that from them. Like, they eliminated us last year in Week 18. And then we proceeded to eliminate them in Week 18 this year. So it's just one of those things that happens in football. It's just that we cancel each other out. You're sitting on the couch now with the Tennessee Titans. And when it comes to Jacksonville, a little bit of a retrospective on this team, is it safe to say they're similar to how the Giants were last year, where the Giants went into the playoffs, they took a team out, they looked good, and then this year the product that we got on the field was just damn, when is that? I
don't know, but I do know the defensive court. The whole defensive side of the ball in Jacksonville was fired.
Dougie P fired him himself. So
nobody told Dougie P to do it. Dougie P said, "Nah, we're not doing this."
They call it Black Monday. It's the Monday after the final week.
You got the list of all the
season.
Coaches?
I do not. I do not have a list of all the coaches.
Well, we know Arthur Smith.
Bill Belichick still has his job, which is funny. Out of everybody that we discussed. The fact that he still has his job right now. The rumor coming out
is that Bill Belichick has told the Patriots, if you just want me coaching and not having control of front office and all that, I'm okay. I will. He even said, talk out of his camp is that he doesn't want to do all that anymore. That he basically just wants to be the coach and that's it. He's going to have input, but he's not going to have complete control.
Well, he hasn't been doing a great job at the
whole. And that I think he realizes that.
He hasn't been.
And so his thing is probably maybe I should focus on.
He's botched enough draft picks to where this conversation maybe should have happened.
I agree.
Longer, way before this point. And now there's rumor innuendo that McDaniels is willing to join the coaching staff as long as Bill Belichick remains at the helm.
Oh, of course.
He's going back.
That's Vince Russo.
He's going home, dog. He just wants to go home. Is Derrick Henry gone? Before what we did as far as firing Vrabel, there was a part of me that said to myself, you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if he stayed. Now that Vrabel is out of the picture, dog, I don't know what's happening.
I heard they're looking at Ben Johnson, the offensive coordinator from the Eagles. They're looking at the offensive coordinator at the Lions.
Oh,
they're looking at the Lions offensive coordinator, and they're looking at somebody else.
Because we didn't see what just happened with some of these OCs that got promoted into the head coaching position, right? Because you want an OC to be the head coach. That's your game plan. There's no balance.
Well, a lot of the Vrabel thing has to do with what Ian Rapp reported today. Is Miss Amy didn't like the fact that he went to New England for that Hall of Fame ceremony.
Which I think is petty on
and
Tennessee's part.
After that, the rumors of him wanting to be the coach of the Patriots came, and he never started any of it. He blatantly told them he wanted to stay.
Maybe they looked at it
but he told them, like, if you don't want me here, well, then trade me or release me. And so she outrighted released him,
and
which
they
I
said
think
that
is
it
crazy.
would be too complicated to initiate.
They could have got a second-round pick
and
for him.
It would take too long. And in her words, they would have an opportunity. It would cost them an opportunity to miss out on their guy. So Who is
their guy?
They have somebody in mind because there was that fear of loss thing.
Chris said they could take Mike Kafka on a golden platter. Do you really think Mike Kafka was the guy calling the offensive plays for the Giants all year? You don't think for a second that Dable started calling plays?
I don't want anything from the Giants right now, okay? I don't want Ben Johnson. I don't want any of the offensive coordinators that you mentioned, all right? If you want to make this up to me, get me Jim Harbaugh. Bring him to Tennessee. Get me someone who's just going to make me say, wow, we fired Vrabel and we did something better. Don't bring in somebody that's going to make me feel like we went backwards. At the end of the day, what I initially read as far as what happened with the situation is that Miss Amy told Vrabel that
dropping a bomb.
NFL Amy told Vrabel that you are to give up control of team building. That is no longer going to be your job as far as staying here. So similar to the whole Malarkey situation where they asked him to fire his staff where he's gone, Vrabel was at this point, he was probably sick of the situation there, bro. Like you trade away the wide receiver, you fire J-Rob, you bring in Mr. C. He's looking at it like this guy's only been here for a year. I've got what I've got going on right now. I won Coach of the Year with a bunch of nobodies starting.
Mr. C wanted him back. Mr. C said, like, this is weird because this is perfect. Mr. C came out, had an interview, said, me and him got along great. This decision wasn't mine. And now you see this, what Chris posted, the NFL satellite radio thinks Amy had the idea for weeks, was planning the bad GM rumors so she wouldn't look like the bad person. And by doing that, you're pissing off your GM who's being looked like a liar now. Like,
I think
bad.
I think it was, in my mind, something that was on her mind leading up to this point. It's not
the
just
whole
something
New England
that
thing is one of the reasons why, that's petty as hell.
Especially after a win, following a win against Jacksonville.
And that's when, me and you always say our famous quote, you can't play feelings ball.
More is going to come out on this story. Knowing my team's track record and history, it looks like another blunder on our part.
You're either going to hire an OC or a name from the past.
Name from the past.
Because one of the names from the past,
Jim Schwartz.
Jim Schwartz.
I would rather have Jim Schwartz as our head coach than any of those offensive coordinators that supposedly have good odds to
Rumor has it Jim Schwartz is on the list.
I would like that. I am mad that we got rid of him in the first place because the drop-off on our defense, like, what do you think is the common denominator between the way we looked 2 years ago and the way the Browns look now? Look who's over there, Schwartz. He's literally telling those guys what to do and how to do it. This is the defense that works. The DC job in Cleveland is the easiest thing in the world because Jim Schwartz is there. He's telling you what to do. He'll make anybody look good. The dude, he knows, he understands. Like I know with Harbaugh, he got the extension with Michigan. That's just a pipe dream right now. That's me playing feelings ball at this point because it's just one of those things where
Amy and Vrabel started from the Vrabel speech being honored at Patriots halftime show sometime.
And them hearing those rumors and knowing about his visit out there probably didn't help. You guys are probably right as far as that situation. They looked at it and Titans are a proud organization. Like sometimes we just be doing shit, bro. So they don't care. They don't care that they are snake bitten. They are a proud organization. You saw what we've just are what we did these last couple of years as far as it's a who's list of people that were jettisoned from Tennessee year in and year out that we have not been able to replace.
How upset would you be if Arthur Smith was the head coach?
If Arthur Smith became our head coach? I don't know. I don't know.
He'll keep Ryan Tannehill.
He spent 10 years with us. So the rapport is there.
I know Mr. C is also going to look at this. Some people at,
he's going to look
49ers organization.
He's going to look into his connections. He's got connections with
and
Houston.
He's going to look at the Houston and
he's
the
got
49ers.
Connections with San Francisco. So the San Francisco OC is another name that I saw that is in line to get interviewed. It seems like they want to go and promote.
And then I read about
4 or 5 different OCs.
The Pete Carroll thing. Pete Carroll still wanted to be the coach, but they were like they wanted to move into a different direction. And the leading candidate for that job is defensive coordinator Dan Quinn.
The Pete Carroll thing threw me for a loop. Again, I haven't been able to get any of the developments or news that I normally get, especially on podcast day, being without my real phone. So I missed out on a lot of that stuff that I'm usually on top of. With Pete Carroll and with Seattle, it's like, damn, they don't want to get rid of him. They just don't want him
to be the coach anymore.
As far as the head coach, which is interesting when you look around the league and you hear about some of the stories that are coming out.
Look what he's done. It's a young team and he's revamped them. He's missing a quarterback. That's all he's really missing.
Like us wanting Vrabel to give up control. The Patriots wanting Bill Belichick to give up control. The Seahawks wanting Pete Carroll to sort of take a step back but still be like a part of the building. Maybe that's just how much respect they have for him. Because of everything.
What if he wants to coach still?
Come to Tennessee, dog. Come be our coach. Chew your bubble gum and get on the field and practice with us at 7.
He'll run out there with Will Levis and be like, he'll have his gloves on.
Just throwing the ball.
Start throwing the ball at DeAndre Hopkins.
I don't know. I don't know what the next step would be for this football team, to be honest with you. It's just it leaves a bad taste in your mouth getting rid of a guy like Vrabel, a guy that I'll admit I've defended a lot of his shit. The whole thing about losing to Baltimore and Tennessee and losing to Cincinnati and Tennessee and only having 2.
I don't blame him for the Cincinnati game. That is a Ryan Tannehill thing from the rip.
Ryan Tannehill.
Because you could see when he threw that pick, Vrabel just like if Vrabel could kill him with eyes, he was dead.
And
because all he had to do was throw it incomplete, kick a field goal, and what, you'd have been tied or you would have won the game? That was all it took.
That game gives me PTSD. But nonetheless, you start the game with a pick. You start the second half with a pick, and then you end the game with a pick. So one of those 3 picks needed to be cashed in for what would have been the go-ahead touchdown that we needed in order to advance.
You're right about that.
So, however you sum it up. But then when you look at the Vrabel side of it, after 6 years and everything that he's been through, maybe he was just fed up, bro. Maybe when they brought that ultimatum to him, maybe that was the wrong thing for them to do.
That's what a lot of people think, too.
You're not going to give me an ultimatum after everything that I've been through. Like, you traded away my wide receiver 1. You got rid of John Robinson a year too late.
I was listening to a radio show. It might have been 94-1. I'm not sure.
I also heard that they weren't.
And they were like, yeah, what do you think? He goes in and they're like, yeah, Mike, this is what you can't be here. Okay.
We lose Derrick Henry for the season, and he goes and gets the number 1 seed without Derrick Henry. with a bunch of guys. He had more guys suited up than any other team in the league in that year. We just had randoms out there. Mind you, the
I
whole
don't think he's going to New England,
whole Dillard thing, they weren't fond of the Dillard thing. They didn't like that he doubled down on having Dillard out there because Dillard has been an absolute disaster as far as the offensive line. But I can't put the offensive line on him, man. Like it was him being scapegoated for years worth of mistakes that were compounded by a group of people. Like the Titans front office. Like everybody
trading
involved.
AJ Brown away
It's
is taking
just-
Treylon Burks was not panned out and looking like a bust.
Treylon just can't stay on the field. Enough
But
about the Titans.
honestly,
for now.
like you said, at this point, if Bill hasn't been fired, I don't think he's getting fired.
I'm starting to think he's not getting fired at all.
So now
I'm
where's
starting to
Vrabel
think he
go?
stays.
You know, there's a lot of openings, and if I'm Mike Vrabel and Bill Belichick is he's going to stay in New England, I'm trying to get that Chargers job. There's defense there that he could turn around. He's got a superstar quarterback. Well, hopefully he'll finally become a superstar quarterback because, you know, not for nothing, Justin Herbert really hasn't done much since his, year 2.
The Chargers job is still a good spot for a coach to end
Oh,
up at, no
it's
matter
great.
like
Everything's
now,
there.
we just have a
However,
different list of
I still think
unexpected
Harbaugh's
candidates.
going there.
Not
So then you got the Vegas Raiders. The Vegas Raiders have some talent. The new regime is doing things right. They need a quarterback. Is he going to go to that team where, the rumors of Devontae Adams getting traded? Are the Raiders going to do that? Or are the Raiders going to go out and set a precedent and go get a guy like Kirk Cousins in the offseason?
Well, it sounds like Kurt is willing to take a hometown discount to stay now.
Really?
Like he's willing to take a hometown discount to stay in Minnesota. So a lot of the people that we thought were going to be out the door, all of a sudden, like, are kind of hesitant to actually leave. Like they're not ready to actually leave, and the team doesn't seem like they're in a rush to push them.
And then you got the
out
rumor
door.
out of Pittsburgh. That's not only coming from the national but local media that Mike Tomlin could consider resigning after this season and sitting out a year of football. We would still own his rights, so anybody that would want him would have to give us compensation, but that becomes an opening. And if Mike was to do that, I would like Mike to stay. I've said a lot of shit, but I understand how good of a coach he is. I'm just upset with the fact that we haven't had playoff win in 6 years.
Well, you guys.
However,
you guys do this. You guys will look terrible. You'll do okay. You'll do just enough to skate into the playoffs. You'll get destroyed in the first round.
yeah,
And it's just been the repetitive cycle of
we need a win.
like
So I can
the endless
understand.
loophole of the Steelers multiverse.
So I can understand if Mike wants to leave and take a year off and refresh, because 17 years is a long time. So if he was to make this decision and leave now, and like he really is gonna leave, which I hope he doesn't, but if he were to leave, I would hope Mike Vrabel would still be available so that the Pittsburgh Steelers could grab Mike Vrabel, because Mike Vrabel would fit right in.
They're saying the Falcons might be the spot that he ends up. But Chris, upset with the Jets not doing anything coach-wise. O-line should be gone at least. Rodgers being injured shouldn't be
A mulligan.
The mulligan for everyone. NFL Satellite also said if Belichick was going to be traded, would be on his terms, and only place Bill would want to go is the Chargers because he has at least a established QB there. I mean, it's easy to see what Bill Belichick has looked like without having an established quarterback the last 3 seasons. Because of the wording of the contract, they don't see him being traded. There was rumor that Garrett Wilson changing his number to 5 so Adams can take 17 if the Jets get him. and Devontae Adams to the Jets could definitely be something that happens.
Let me see something.
This offseason.
Let's go to we're
Because of
going to
the
do
way
this
the
live
cap
on
played
air
out.
because that's what I love to do. Over the cap.
The Raiders thing turned out to be a complete disaster for Devontae Adams up until this point. So for him to be reunited with his boy for however much longer Aaron Rodgers chooses to play, is something that's definitely in play. I don't know. I don't know how to call it for this offseason because
all right. So
shit is just so unpredictable.
If Davante Adams were to be cut pre-June 1st, they wouldn't get no money for this man. Oh, Jimmy Garoppolo's definitely going to be cut after the year. All right, here we go. I'm directly on his thing. So if he was to be cut before June 1st, it would be $40 million in dead cap, but they would actually save nothing. Oh, shit. They would get nothing. So let's say he's traded pre-June 1st. If he were to be traded before June 1st, it's a $23 million dead hit this year. They would save $1.8 million. If they did it after June 1st, it's a $7 million dead money cap hit this year, next year, and the following year. However, they would save $17.5 million. So, Jets fans, if for some odd reason the Raiders feel the need to trade Davante to the Jets, it isn't going to happen until after June 1st. That way, they can get relief back to their cap.
And to be quite honest, it could have played out a lot worse for the Jets this year. I thought it was going to be worse for them. Like, it was bad. It was terrible.
I thought they were going,
but they were out there winning some games with Zach Wilson.
I thought they were going 12-6 this year.
The Jets weren't.
But I did that with the knowledge of Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah. He's talking about these. These are our predictions that we made back in August, and we have a copy of these and the copy of the current playoff picture, and we were going to do a little bit of comparing and contrasting. Of course, my associate
Adams does not have a no trade clause. I already looked into that as well.
My associate had the Jets being the number 2 seed in the AFC side this season,
and I think it would have happened.
Playing this weekend with a healthy Aaron Rodgers, and who knows, the sky's the limit if Aaron Rodgers stays healthy.
It would have been Jets Steelers this weekend.
Would have been, because not for nothing, like, those couple of weeks even after Aaron Rodgers got hurt, like, the defense was running on all cylinders. The offense was somewhat competent, right? Like, the Jets managed to beat a couple of heavy hitters, even though their record. You look at the record and say to yourself, like, if you weren't actually watching them on a weekend,
well, they got screwed against the Chiefs.
They got completely shafted. Yeah, that's one thing that you just can't get nothing about
that. Chris said, if Al Davis doesn't do a day's move and keeps Antonio Pierce, you really think Vegas will want to trade Adams? If Antonio Pierce is the head coach of the Raiders, Davante Adams is not going anywhere. Because Antonio Pierce is going to pound the table to make sure he stays.
I don't think Davis will keep him, though, bro. The Raiders, again, it's like my team. Look at their track record. Their track record indicates that they are going to do the wrong thing, and it's going to set them back. And that's exactly what the Raiders don't have a quarterback right now. Jimmy G this, Jimmy G that. He ain't it. Because we already know what happens.
What up, Chino?
What up, Chino? We already know what happens with Jimmy G. Oh, my leg. Oh, my shoulder. Oh, my arm. Oh, my chest. Oh, my neck. So, if you're talking about heading into next season with O'Donnell, however you say it, right? Because they have no plan as far as the quarterback goes.
Mason Rudolph.
I mean, Jake Browning, Mason Rudolph, Gardner Minshew. Like, let's look at the carousel of backup quarterbacks.
Justin Fields,
who were able to start for weeks at a time.
Enough to trade.
And yeah, we don't even know what it's harder to pinpoint where everybody's going to go because of the fact that so many teams.
Twisted Tea Can is this?
Twisted Tea Can? I'm not totally sure. Thank you, my good man. This is gonna taste great. But like, usually
that's your last one.
We get on the podcast and we
Russell Wilson to the Raiders.
We make our early predictions, right, based off of what's happened. But there's so many different things that have happened where the variables are gonna change completely. Like, I don't know, bro. I don't know. Jim Harbaugh could be back in the NFL somewhere. Belichick could still be in New England. The Vrabel could be the Raiders coach next year. Like, I don't know. I don't know, bro.
I mean, Mike Vrabel's not going to be a Raiders coach if Devontae Adams ain't going to be there. Russell Wilson's not a bad option for them either. And all this talk about Russell Wilson getting $90 million, I don't even think that's happening. I think Russell's going to be lucky to sign a contract for $25 million.
Well, he already got 124 in 2 years.
I know, but the way his numbers have looked, the way he's looked, I think you're looking at a guy getting about 20 to 25 million to where maybe you can sign a guy like that and draft your quarterback. And I'm not so sure, even though I think it'd be stupid, but I'm not so sure Justin Fields is safe.
Yeah,
I have a feeling that Chicago's going to do something stupid, and they're going to trade him and then draft Caleb Williams, which will be a mistake. I am not a Caleb Williams guy. I do not think he has the wherewithal, the testicular fortitude,
the savvy
to be a quarterback in the NFL. Because when adversity hits this kid, he does not know how to act. And that is a red flag. Because in the NFL, you're going to be faced with adversity. You're going to be faced in adverse conditions, adverse environments, and you have to man up and get yourself out of those environments. You have to show your level of play and show that you can rise to the level of competition. And I don't think Caleb Williams is made like that.
As far as the Chicago Bears, they had, I believe, 4 possessions that were in the red zone of the Packers, and they couldn't punch it in for a touchdown. So that could be a Justin Fields issue. That could be an Eberflus. That could be a Matt Eberflus issue. Whatever you want to peg it on. If they want to scapegoat
he fired
Justin
his quarterback
Fields,
coach and he fired his OC. So that's what tells me. That's what tells me that Justin isn't safe.
Maybe he is, though, if they got rid of those guys.
I don't know, man. Maybe
because
getting rid of
they're
those guys,
putting the onus on them
to bring in somebody new
Eberflus,
on top of a new quarterback.
Because you know what the thing is, though?
And hey, rumor has it, might just cost you a second or a third round pick.
Their GM
to get Justin
Their
Fields.
GM loves Fields, though. That's one thing. You can't really say he's not. He is a Justin Fields mark. And all the things that they have done up until this point, and DJ Moore and everything, maybe there was a conversation between Fields, the head coach, and the GM, where it's just like, okay, this is what we have to do to make this work. Because Justin Fields is his guy. They have the second overall pick and the
number one.
They have the number 1 overall pick and the 5th pick or the 4th pick?
No, I think the 7th.
So maybe they had conversation.
I think I shared this in the
because the expectations on the Chicago Bears were a little bit ahead of their timeline. I'd say a year ahead of their timeline. And they sat down and they said to themselves, we can get rid of this guy, we can get rid of this guy. And we just try to run it back next season with this group and see what we can do. I think this draft and this season becomes bigger for Justin Fields. So now I'm starting to lean more towards the side where he stays. If he goes, we're talking about a world of possibilities as far as where he could end up. Now we're talking about Justin Fields to the Raiders, Justin Fields to the Falcons. You know, like, what the hell are the Broncos going to do now? The Broncos can't be serious about trotting out.
The Bears have the 1st and the 9th pick.
1st and the 9th. So 2 of the top 10 picks go to Chicago. I don't feel, because what, you're going to get rid of Fields and
Alex has said that what they should do. Me and Alex have said what they should do is keep Justin Fields, use that number 1 overall pick to get at least maybe two 1s, a 2, a 3, and maybe a player like they did last year, and then use one of those ones you acquire and take your 1 for your number 9th and trade it up to pick Marvin Harrison Jr.
Like the 104.
Yeah, to get Marvin Harrison Jr.
They could do it. They have the ability to do it. And I expect the Bears to be active in the draft. Like, I expect them to, because of the fact that they acquired so much from the Carolina Panthers, that they have so much to work with. I don't think that tied to the fact where I truly believe that their GM is a Justin Fields mark is why I feel like Fields is going to have at least another year.
And that's why I say
football team. Because that will be his contract.
I told everybody I don't want Justin Fields. However, if I could get Justin Fields for just a 3rd round pick, I would do it in a heartbeat. And I tell Kenny right to his face, beat him.
If it wasn't the fact that Poles loves him so much, you could get that. But they want the world for him. They love him, dog. He is going to be Chicago's quarterback. So as much as sometimes fans and we want things to change, they will remain the same.
Or maybe fans need to stop being so damn impatient. Like, bro,
can we blame Fields for this year?
Listen, back in the day, it would take a quarterback 2 to 3, 3 years till he finally got good. Like, I can remember those years where quarterbacks, like Aaron McNair, when he first came in,
Fields. Easy.
When Aaron McNair first came in 94, I think, he wasn't the starter until 97. Like, you can't sit here and some of you fans just have this, now, because a 5-year contract, you can field the team and you can go. Who cares? Look what the Rams are doing. The Rams had no picks. They traded them all away.
All of them.
For Matt Stafford.
All of them.
They won a Super Bowl. They sucked for a year, and they're back in the damn playoffs. So let a quarterback develop.
I get where you're coming from, Chris, but at the same time, like, who was he going to sit behind at that point in time? Like, it's one of those things where some guys have no choice but to get thrown to the
Some
wolves,
of these guys
you know?
need to sit and learn.
Like, Malik Willis got drafted, but Ryan Tannehill was there. Two Gloves got drafted, and there was really nobody there. So
they should have just let Mason Rudolph.
Two Gloves here.
And I'm not saying that because of the last 3
but that's
weeks.
hindsight. That's hindsight.
I said it after last year. If the plan was always to draft Kenny Pickett, then why waste the capital on Mitchell Trubisky? Let Mason go out there for 8 games Mitchell lasted 4 games last year.
Jalen Hurts was going to sit, but everything happened how it happened.
Carson Wentz got hurt. He started playing.
Ryan Tannehill got hurt, and we start Malik Willis. But originally, it was going to be Ryan Tannehill's team. Like, some of these rookie quarterbacks didn't have the luxury of somebody to sit behind, and I would classify Justin Fields as one of those guys. Zach Wilson.
It's more apparent than ever.
They drafted Zach Wilson as the franchise quarterback.
He should have never started.
So it varies.
Zach Wilson should have sat for a year. Kenny Pickett should have sat for the year. But the quarterbacks that were playing ahead of them were so terrible, they had no choice.
They wanted to win. And it's not just fans. It's the teams. It's ownership. It's the front office. We've all had managers who were delusional that are hitting you up for these requests that just make absolutely no sense whatsoever.
The Pelicans Golden State Warriors in the first quarter is 41 to 25.
Oh yeah, Pelicans are potent. Pelicans score points. They are a playoff team this year. This might be the best that they've looked in the last couple of years, and Zion Williams is actually playing. So, this is the Pelicans team that I think people were waiting to see for a couple of years. We got Pelicans versus Warriors on the big screen as we break it all down here for podcast night. A little bit of football, a little bit of basketball. Right now, this is like the official entry into the off-season NFL talk that we're going to be having because of so many moving pieces with all these big names and decisions that need to be made
and
with
don't
some
worry,
of these organizations.
About a week to 2 weeks before the free agency kicks off in March, we talk about our ideal fits in our world scenarios.
Yeah, we got it all.
So we've got a lot of coverage coming for the next couple weeks. We got it all covered.
We got the sports betting covered.
We got the entire month.
We're evolving.
Playoff football. We have next month with the Super Bowl. We got the NBA All-Star game coming up. We got angry Draymond Green. We can talk about this.
He's reinstated.
I'm absolutely positive that he's going to do something stupid again within the next month.
And for the basketball heads, we're going to be getting into that part of the
and Terrell, basketball. The only reason you beat me last week was because I forgot to look at my lineup Sunday to make sure DeAndre Ayton was playing or not. I was so high off of life that Pittsburgh was going to the playoffs because Jacksonville lost, that after that, I didn't give a rat's ass what happened the rest of the day.
I'm walking on sunshine.
You should have seen me.
You're not checking your phone.
I was done.
You're not checking the injury report. You're not checking the other team's score. You're not checking any football games.
I said, I'm so glad I can go to bed early. Because if Jacksonville won, I would have to stay up.
You guys do this shit every year. You drag yourselves through the season.
When all you had to do, Mike, was start Mason against the Colts that Saturday night, and we would have won.
You sneak into the playoffs, and it's your misfortune to have to go up against like the Chiefs or the Bills or a team like that. You get bounced, but you sneak in when nobody thought you were going to make it in the first place. I thought you had a shot. To be clear, the Steelers are on this August list because I said to myself, I don't care how it looks. I don't care how it sounds. I've watched this football team. I've seen them lose. I've seen them win. Something is going to happen that is going to open up Pandora's box for this football team.
Are you saying we're doing this now?
That something was the fact that I had high expectations for Cincinnati, and they never got right. The Cincinnati Bengals never got right.
Jake Browning almost got him there, but even with Jake Burrow, they were inconsistent.
Jake Browning is similar to like what happened to the Jets, except a little bit better because the Bengals still had something to play for late in the season. The Bengals' problem was they could not win a division game to save their life against any of the three of you guys. So it didn't matter.
They only won one division game, right? And it was the Browns game because
when the Browns sat everybody.
Browns sat everybody.
The Browns clinched their spot 2 weeks in advance.
Echo's out.
Yeah.
I heard it's pretty crazy.
What if season 2 is out also? I have to rewatch it, but I was watching a couple of the episodes.
You know what else is a good show? Reacher on Amazon Prime. Good shit. All right, so let's do this. All right, so these, ladies and gentlemen, are our original playoff predictions in August of 2023 before anything happened.
Anything.
I'm going to give you mine. He's going to give you his, and then we're going to talk about the present day.
Oh.
My wild card round was the number 2 seed Jets versus the number 7 seed Bills. The 3rd seed Steelers versus the 6th seed Ravens.
Couldn't help yourself.
The 4th seed Jaguars against the 5th seed Bengals. My second round for the AFC was Chiefs, Bengals, Jets, Steelers. My AFC championship was Chiefs versus Jets. Chiefs winning. My NFC, it was number 2 49ers, number 7 Falcons, number 3 Lions, number 6 Giants, number 4 Saints, number 5 Dallas Cowboys. This divisional round was Eagles, Dallas, Niners, Lions. NFC championship game, Eagles versus Lions, Lions winning. No one can ever say that I didn't know the Lions were going to the playoffs. I predicted it, and I was called crazy. And now I don't look too crazy because this offense is wicked. Super Bowl, Lions, Chiefs were winning it. I don't think the Chiefs are getting to the Super Bowl.
I don't think Detroit's getting to the Super Bowl either, dude. not with the petty shit they're doing right now.
I know, that's why stop.
I got a bad feeling the football gods are going to frown. The football gods are like, we gave you guys your first playoff game in Detroit in 3 decades, and this is how you want to act? You're banning people from wearing a Matt Stafford jersey?
That's stupid.
After everything that he did?
It's so childish.
Wouldn't you want people to what do you think that's going to help your chances to beat them? Because Sean McVay doesn't have Jared Goff figured out, right? He never had him before. He has no idea what's coming.
Anybody knows how to stop Jared Goff?
It's Sean McVay. No, I'm sorry. Look, if you want a motivational speaker that's going to get you ready to run through a brick wall, you want Dan Campbell. But if you want a coach that's going to scheme up a good game plan, you want Sean McVay. You want Sean McVay. He's been here before. They let him back in. The Rams have looked good for the last month.
I would say they're one of the hottest teams in the league.
The way they played the Baltimore Ravens in Baltimore should have shown people what was coming.
They lost in overtime off a punt return.
They could have won that game, dog. They could have won that game. That was one of the best games of the season because it was just back and forth, tit for tat. And maybe
the only time that Jared Goff has played against the Rams since being traded was the Rams Super Bowl year 2021, where Goff threw 268, a touchdown, 2 interceptions, as the Lions lost on the road 28-19.
I could see a game like that unfolding. Because, I'm sorry, what answer does Detroit have for Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua? What? None. That's the answer. Because the Detroit secondary allowed CeeDee Lamb to get a 92-yard touchdown as soon as that game started. That secondary ain't stopping
That
those
was
boys.
crazy.
There's no way. You can't be any more motivated than Matthew Stafford himself hearing that his jersey is being banned.
And now you told
in
his wife
old stadium.
And now you told his wife can't have a suite after all they've done as a family and the money they've donated to the Detroit area.
You guys didn't do anything for him. He did more for you than you could do for him.
My man broke his collarbone, missed the play, came back in, and threw the game-winning touchdown in his rookie year. Does anybody remember that besides me? Where he told, "Don't touch me. Don't touch me." Remember that?
The Detroit Lions have been a fun story this year. Nobody was rooting against the Lions across the board. Nobody.
Only Packer fans were.
Only Packer fans who didn't understand what was happening. And what's happening is a transition within that division where the Detroit Lions are now the big dog. No matter what anybody thinks, the Detroit Lions are the favorites to win that division next year. And they will probably win that division next year, barring anything crazy happening, because that roster's insane.
We're like the only people who don't think that are Packer fans.
However, this is where the Detroit Lions story ends. Right here.
All right, give your old
this week.
Before we get into
And it's funny because I had the Lions getting eliminated on Wildcard weekend back in August, but it's all about the team that I had beating them. So my original August Wildcard weekend was the Bengals either defeating the Steelers or the Broncos in the first round, the Ravens defeating the Dolphins, and the Tennessee Titans defeating the Bills. On the NFC side, I had the 49ers beating the Vikings, the Giants beating the Lions, and the Cowboys beating the Falcons. That sets up my divisional round where I had the Bengals beating the Titans and the Chiefs beating the Ravens. And then I had the Giants beating the 49ers. I'm sorry, San Francisco fans. I don't know what that was, because as much trash as I talk on that football team, for me to actually put this as a prediction, something must have triggered in my brain.
Wait, you picked the Giants to beat the Niners?
Yeah, in San Fran. And I picked the Eagles to beat the Cowboys. My title games were the Bengals beating the Chiefs and the Eagles beating the Giants, and then the Bengals beating the Eagles in the Super Bowl. None of that's going to happen. The Bengals aren't even in the playoffs, and the Eagles aren't making the Super Bowl. So I apologize for the things that I got wrong. I feel pretty good about some of the things that I got right.
I mean, I had the Steelers at the third seed with an 11-6 record.
I had us at 10-7.
They finished 10-7.
I had us at 10-7. I had the Bills at 11-6, Ravens at 11-6. I actually had respectable records across the board for teams. I just overestimated.
I had the Jaguars record right in my thing, 9-8.
You guys know I was going hard for the Falcons since July. I was like, this is the Falcons' year.
I had the Falcons at 9-8. I had the Saints for winning record because I was like, damn, this defense.
Did you hear Jameis Winston's explanation for the touchdown at the end?
No.
The Jamal Williams touchdown. He said that the coach drew up a play for them to take a knee, but that the team decided not to take a knee, that they were going for the score. That was a team thing, not a coach thing. But it's just the way Jameis Winston himself describes it. Because, he's a character. Bro.
I did see Jimmy Graham tweet out. He goes, "We love Jameis, blah, blah, blah." And at the end, fuck the Falcons.
Arthur Smith cutting a promo on the head coach of the Saints.
He was like, bullshit.
Post-game. The coach of the Saints post game admitting the fact that he drew up a play and the players called another play, which all that tells me is, dog, you lost the locker room. And it's only a matter of time before Allen loses his job, which I never felt like he was a good coach. And maybe some of the product that what we saw in the field in New Orleans was based on him and his play calling, because they were lukewarm, the New Orleans Saints. Lukewarm at best. A lot of you guys had them favored to win the South. They couldn't even win a game, let alone the South.
They finished 9-8.
Yeah, because they beat the brakes off the Falcons when it didn't matter. They beat because they still had something to play for. They needed the Bucs to lose.
Had Seattle lost, but Seattle did lose. And had the Packers lost that night, they would be in the playoffs.
But the Bucks and Packers won, which kind of voided their take. But with the
No,
Bucks, that was
It
pulling
didn't
teeth
matter
a little
about the
bit, too.
Bucks. Even after all that,
they
they
would've
needed
jumped
the
ahead.
Packers
They
and they
would've
needed
jumped
the Seahawks to lose. If those two teams had lost, they were in.
ahead.
Seahawks lost, and they ended up with the same record as the Packers. And the reason the Packers got in because the Packers beat them on that the missed field goal the Saints had against them earlier in the year.
So even with that, having the opportunity to make it at the very end of the season and falling short, and all of a sudden, the guy who was just very toxic for fantasy football, the man by the name of Arthur Smith, no longer being the head coach for the Falcons, is actually a liberation for some of the players that we have on our dynasty teams that haven't been able to see the light of day because of the fact that
I watched Bijan Robinson get that 75-yard screen touchdown pass.
That was bittersweet.
And I was seething.
That was bittersweet. Yeah, I saw his touchdown, and I looked at Heather, and I just smiled. I was like, you don't know how many people were waiting for that. And he does it at a time.
Seething.
Like, he does it at a time when it doesn't matter for them.
I'm looking at it going like this. Where was that Dynasty Wildcard weekend?
Where was that all year, dog?
Because he was a stubborn guy that said, we're going to do things my way.
Tyler Algier.
Well, we did things your way, bud, and now you're gone. Every year you were the coach of the Falcons, your record was 7-10.
Tyler Algier, baby.
21-30. 9 games under 500. You thought you were smarter than everybody else in the room by keep on using Algier and this guy when you had a prized Philly horse just sitting there. He has a headache. He's not going in the game. You idiot. You imbecile.
Well, he's fired. And
maybe next year, maybe Arthur Blank, when you get your GM get together and talk to your head coaching candidates, remind them that you spent an 8th overall selection on Bijan Robinson and use him.
Why did you draft him, dog? Like,
what was the purpose of them drafting him?
If you weren't the same question that I asked myself when I sat here in the On the Money Sports Lounge and watched them draft him is the same question that I'm asking after the season is done. Like, why did you draft him?
I wanted him to go to Philly because I knew he was going to get burned. I knew he was going to get burned. He may not have gotten the touchdowns because we all know what Jalen Hurts does, but he would have gotten used. The year that Swift had, I guarantee you that Robinson would have had that year with Philadelphia.
Yeah. So he didn't take too kindly to the Saints beating the brakes off of him to end his coaching tenure with the Atlanta Falcons. And now when it comes to the Atlanta Falcons, similar to the Chargers, they become a very, very intriguing destination for players and for coaches.
Finished 7-10. I had you 9-8 as a wild card, and you screwed it up.
And the thing is, their defense was good all year, dog. The Falcons' defense was stout. Like, they held up as long as they could.
So out of the 7 teams in the NFC,
they got no support from the offensive side of the football.
I got 4 out of the 7 in the NFC, and in the AFC, I got 1, 2, 3, 4. I got 4 out of 7 in both.
4 out of 7 in both.
I got the Jets wrong, the Jags wrong, and the Bengals wrong. Which it's the Browns, the Texans, and the Dolphins. The Dolphins was kind of figured once the Jets went down.
Yeah.
Now, the current bracket. This weekend's slate of games.
My NFC stunk, bro. I got Falcons, Giants, Vikings, who didn't make it. And then on the AFC side, Bengals and Titans. And Broncos, I'll deduct myself half a point because I had the Steelers and the Broncos both in the 7th seed. Because I couldn't make up my mind at the beginning of the year. Because there was too many variables. If anything, you guys looked sort of like what I expected the Broncos to look like. And the Broncos had that point in time where they started beating some AFC heavy hitters.
Bro, they beat some good teams.
The narrative around them changed.
They beat the Bills. They beat the Chiefs. And then they
benched Russ and
cut him after the sense.
Yeah,
had the team kept doing it, they might have been a playoff team.
There was so many.
They would have beat the Raiders with Russ. And who did they lose to last week? The Chargers? They would be in the Chargers.
Maybe we keep saying it every single season, but this has been the most unpredictable regular season of NFL.
Well, there was a lot of injuries. Lots of injuries.
Remember when the running backs were making an argument that they should deserve more pay in the summertime?
And they all got hurt.
They all went down. What we didn't know was that all the quarterbacks were going to go down. Like, we thought for sure all these guys, the Aaron Rodgers of the world and the Kirk Cousins were going to be there until the very end, and they weren't even there for the beginning part. And we had to figure shit out. We had to go get Gardner Minshew. We had to go get Jake Browning.
Anthony Richardson went out,
bro.
Lamar Jackson made it the whole season. First time in 2 years.
Lamar Jackson made it the whole season and also made smarter decisions with the football. So in retrospect, the Ravens brand of football might not have been the most entertaining version, but at the same time, they weren't costing themselves. So this is the best version of them. This is the best version of them. They have the number 1 seed.
Now there's another monkey to get.
I would take
that monkey
them,
is winning a playoff game.
I would take them over the Chiefs if it came down to those two playing each other. 1-3, right? 1-3. 2-3, 1-3.
I think he's 1-3 or 1-4.
They beat Buffalo. That was his one.
No,
I think it's 1-3. Oh, they beat us. They didn't beat Buffalo.
2018, he lost to the Chargers.
He has
2019, he lost to you guys.
I think he's 2-3.
Then he won against you guys. Then he lost to Buffalo. That was the game he got knocked out with a concussion.
Oh, so he's 1-3.
And then 2021, he's 1-3, yeah.
1-3. Okay.
And he has not played good in the playoffs. Minus the win, that win in those 3 losses, he has not played good. So now there's an onus on him too. Can you continue your production? And now you've basically had 2 weeks off. You didn't play this past Saturday. You're not playing this weekend. And you're going to start – you got to start fast. Because if you don't start fast –
bruh, you know what we're about to get?
If the Steelers were to beat the Buffalo Bills on Sunday, it's Pittsburgh versus Baltimore. And I'm not, everybody's been hounding me talking about, you beat the backups. Like, everybody's ignoring the fact about what happened back in October.
Look,
Acrisure.
I love you to death. I don't see you guys beating the Bills.
We may not, but I'm saying if we do.
But you would go to Baltimore if you were to.
And we have every shot in the world of beating them. That's one thing no one can say.
I just don't give you a shot this week. And not for nothing. The Bills are like, if you guys were going up against the Dolphins right now, dog, let me tell you something. That Steelers money line would be ringing because I have no confidence in that football team going into the playoffs. I wanted to play the Chiefs. I get it. That's a better matchup than the Bills.
I wanted to play the Chiefs.
But we talked a lot of shit on Buffalo. We bashed them incessantly, so I'm just giving them their flowers right now because they
got
deserve
their flowers.
They fixed a lot of things that needed to be fixed.
They were 6-6.
And they
14% chance of making the playoffs.
We talk about the teams in October and November that get hot at that middle point of the season to get into the playoffs. Guess what? Buffalo is now that team. Like, they have been able to do it. They came back, and they had a chance in hell to make the playoffs. They came back and won the division. On top of that, the Chiefs are not the 2 seed. It's Buffalo. So they get every game in Buffalo besides the game where they have to travel to Baltimore. And I'm telling you right now, because I already put a wager on it, I'm banking on Buffalo having to make that trip to Baltimore. We're going to see Lamar Jackson versus Josh Allen in the AFC Championship game. That doesn't mean that the Chiefs are going to be one and done either. I'm just saying I think Buffalo can beat the Chiefs this year. I think Baltimore can beat the Chiefs this year. That's just how I look at the field as far as the AFC goes.
I picked the Bills, to win on my paper here, but I'm not going to be surprised if we beat them either.
Of course you're not.
I would not be shocked.
In your heart. That's what you want in your heart.
Because
I get it.
It's going to be 45-mile-an-hour winds. 45-mile-an-hour.
Mason Rudolph has to outperform Josh Allen.
Snow falling. They're predicting 4 to 6 inches of snow during the game.
Mason Rudolph has to outperform Josh Allen.
We don't have to do that.
No, he does. He does.
We don't. You know why we don't?
If he turns the ball over, you aren't winning this game.
The Buffalo Bills are the 27th ranked rushing defense. And what have we been doing for the last month? We're averaging 165 yards a game. My boy Najee looks like a stud. And Jalen, just hold on to the damn football, bro. That's all you got to do, man.
So are you picking the Steelers or are you picking the Bills?
I picked the Bills on my paper.
I'm picking the Bills.
But I will tell you.
I don't know about the -10 thing, but I'm picking the Bills.
And that's another thing. If I'm a Bills fan, I'm feeling a little uneasy about that.
That's just made for DraftKings for you to lose your money because the Bills can win it.
But I know someone who's already put Steeler money line, Harris anytime touchdown, Harris over 58 yards rushing. Not going to say who he is. I'll let you guys figure it out.
If I could, I would put a wager on George Pickens over on the receiving yards.
I don't think there's going to be a lot of passing yards from either team. I think Rudolph and Allen in that weather are going to combine both 25 passes combined.
That's wild.
I
think
those wins are going to be 45. 45. It's going to feel like it did last night out here.
Sometimes we hear about certain weather conditions and elements. And
they're talking about 6 inches of snow.
So,
snow squalls. It's going to hinder. And, yeah, we're wounded. No TJ Watt, but they're wounded too.
And that's another thing with you guys.
Taylor Rapp,
at the end of the day,
Russell Douglas.
If
their secondary's hurt.
If you guys had TJ Watt in the game, I'd give you a better fighting chance. The fact that he's not there and the difference that he makes for your team, because you guys aren't the same team when he's not in the picture. What game have you guys played where he's not there that you feel as though
I feel this year we're better equipped without him? I think Herbig, the rookie, has done good. I think Marcus Golden, former Pro Bowler, has done very well too.
This isn't the game where you want him to be out. I'm taking the Bills money line.
Take the Bills money line.
But at the same time,
I'm going to make another ticket with the Bills money line too.
I'm not saying it's going to be like a 40-point blowout. It might be one of the uglier playoff
Bro, it's
games.
going to be 17-14.
But I'm going with the Bills in that game.
2017, 17-14 is going to be the score.
The game that I was interested in talking about, because it has ramifications as far as who travels to Baltimore across the board, is the Cleveland Browns versus the Houston Texans. Browns going to Houston, the rookie sensation against the old gunslinger. A team that played the Texans without Stroud the first time.
They beat him up.
Stroud team where, you know what, when I saw Stroud and his
beat him up real good in that game.
Oh yeah, the Browns had their way with them, but it was Keenum, dog. It wasn't like, it was the Browns were chilling that day. They already knew what the assignment was, but they've done that to a lot of football teams this year. Like, there weren't a lot of football teams that had success against the Browns defense because they are elite, no matter what. If the Browns defense wasn't elite, the Browns would not be in the position that they're in right now.
36-22 was a couple weeks. It was Christmas Eve. That's when Cooper had 265 yards receiving.
Joe Flacco didn't start until about a month ago. The Browns were winning games before that with P.J. Walker and Dorian Thompson because it wasn't Deshaun Watson marching them down the field. It was that defense that was marching them down the field. They sat with that defense and told them, you guys are our only hope. And that defense responded. And right now, you have a situation where it's the immovable force versus the unstoppable object, or whatever you want to call it, because Nico Collins is also elite playing in Houston. He averages about 111 receiving yards per game playing in Houston.
That game was in Cleveland.
In Cleveland?
I think it was.
The one that they played each other? But the thing is, Cleveland's defense travels. They're not bad on the road. So it doesn't matter. Like, regardless, you're facing one of the top defenses. The advantage.
Oh, no, it was in Houston.
The advantage The advantage that Houston has is the fact that the Browns defense hasn't seen CJ
Joe
yet.
Flacco threw 2 interceptions in that game.
He throws
and it
interceptions
wasn't
in every
Case
game.
Keenum. It was Davis Mills.
Oh, yeah, that's why it was what it was.
Listen.
That's why it was.
This ain't going to be no walk in the park for Cleveland. I hope Cleveland doesn't think that.
Listen,
CJ Stroud. However,
it's definitely not going to be a walk in the park for the Texans either.
Okay?
Because this ain't like the Colts defense. Like this ain't the same caliber defense. You know, like if I'm talking about putting money out of my own pocket on this game, I'm putting it on Cleveland.
Yeah.
All right. So that's all that matters. But I will say this: I'm not going to rule the kid out because the Browns still haven't seen what he can do. If this kid goes and wins this game in Houston for the Texans, who won the AFC South, who celebrated in their locker room deservedly so, who had to deal with all the atrocities of Deshaun Watson and their old GM and all the crazy shit that happened before Caserio came into that situation. Like, dog, there are teams that had a leg up on the Texans that still aren't built as good as the Texans are now because of some of their decisions. Like the Texans won the South. They have $74 million in cap space coming their way next year. They have the franchise quarterback. It is not Bryce Young. It is CJ Stroud.
I still don't think it's fair to say Bryce is a bust.
I know. It's not fair to say he's a bust, but I think it's at least fair to say at this point CJ Stroud is better.
There was talent in Houston, and Lovie Smith was starting to get them, but you knew the directive was to tank. It's funny because Lovie Smith got fired because they won and had the pick at number 2, but they picked CJ Stroud at number 2, and now they're in the playoffs. So maybe, just maybe,
well, it wasn't a Lovie Smith.
Y'all should call Lovie Smith up and say thank you, Lovie, for winning that game last year. Because had we stayed the number 1 overall pick, we would have picked Bryce Young.
That's karma. And they're not going to admit that they were wrong in the moment, but they are definitely breathing a sigh of relief, thinking to themselves, that could have been us in that situation. And yes, the Houston Texans do have a lot more to work with than the Carolina Panthers. But at the end of the day, that kid, that rookie still has to go out there and execute with those.
The Carolina Panthers are a dumpster fire. They're the new Washington Commanders to me.
The GM was throwing drinks on people.
The GM, no, that was not the GM. That was the owner.
I'm sorry.
When you got an owner behaving like that, F that.
He was throwing
that team is in shambles. How do you get a head coach in Canada to come there?
Sell the team.
And it's embarrassing because David Tepper was a minority owner of the Steelers for over 10 years. You'd think he would have learned how to properly run an organization.
I have spent years hating the Houston Texans, and I don't hate them that much this year because when I saw that head coach and CJ Stroud go into the locker room and those guys ready to like celebrate with them, I was actually happy for them because I watched CJ Stroud play. And I said to myself, like, yo, they overcame. So when in a world where so many NFL teams are putting themselves deeper in the hole, the Texans got themselves out of 6 feet under. They were literally down at as low as you can get as an organization. And they have found themselves in the postseason with a legit opportunity to win this week against the Browns. Because I'm not ruling out the possibility that they win. I'm just saying I put my money on the Browns to win. Because I'm entrusting that defense, the same defense that has showed up each and every week, led by Jim Schwartz, who's in the background calling all the shots for their DC, who has the easiest job in the world. I am entrusting him to be able to get the job done. And honestly, yeah, you know what? Joe Flacco does have turnovers. He has a turnover in every single game. But he also has 300-plus passing yards in every single game.
And I'm not in love with Joe Flacco, huh?
Dog. That cat was helping people get to championships in fantasy football.
You
Joe Flacco.
Listen, Cleveland, I promise this. He's going to break your heart at the worst possible moment.
And you know when it's going to happen?
And I am going to revel in the moment.
But you know what? You're going to have to revel in it when he does it in Baltimore. And Baltimore's the team that beats him. So you're going to have to pick a side.
Hey.
You're going to have to pick a side.
I don't think he – listen.
Because –
spoiler alert, I know you should say I'm picking Texans this weekend.
Of course you are. That's a homer
I'm
pick,
going
though.
home. I'm going the hometown kid. I don't think there's no way in hell that Amari Cooper is putting up another 296 yards. Throw that shit out the book right now. It ain't happening. It's happening.
Is that what he had him? Is that what he had against him the first?
That
time?
Was that game where Cooper.
So who's gonna stop him from doing it?
It's not happening again.
Who's gonna stop him?
Because this time around, the Texans are going to control the clock more than what they did before.
The Texans are not good at stopping the pass. They are good at stopping the run.
Devin Singletary.
We know that Jerome
Damon
Ford
Pierce,
and Kareem Hunt are not going to be what wins this football team the game.
I can promise you the better quarterback this weekend will be C.J. Stroud.
Are you willing to put money on it, or are you just being a Browns hater?
I'm taking money, Texans money line.
All right. From now on, that's going to be my question for people. When they're running their mouth talking about who's going to win, that's how I know if you're playing Phillies ball or not. I'm going to ask you, are you putting money on that, or are you just going to say that?
I'm taking
Texans
money line. I'm taking Miami Dolphins money line. I'm taking the Steeler money line because they're all pluses.
You're giving money away, dude. You got to at least pick one. Don't take all three. Don't be ridiculous. Nah. That's too much Phillies ball. For Kansas City,
I know everybody's going to talk about the Chiefs game where it's going to be so cold. Do you think the Kansas City Chiefs want to play in that shit any more than Miami wants to play in that this weekend?
They are happy to be playing.
And not only that, Miami 3 times a year has to come up north.
They are happy to be playing.
People forget that they got to play in Buffalo.
They lose most of those games.
They got to play New England.
They lose those games.
They got to play the Jets.
They don't win. They make the trip, but they lose.
They were just in New Jersey last month and shitty ass weather.
Who was the last good team Miami beat?
I don't think the Chiefs are that good.
Who was it?
Oh. I get you, but I don't think the Chiefs are that good.
The Chiefs are the better team in this situation. You have no Jalen Waddle. You have no Raheem Mostert. And you have a good Chiefs defense.
You don't know if they're not playing or not.
Doesn't sound good from what I've seen to this point.
And who's going to light up the scoreboard for Kansas City this weekend?
Rashee Rice.
Oh,
Rashee Rice.
Rashee Rice, Kansas City Chiefs money line and anytime touchdown?
Do it.
Is that what you're doing?
You'll make more money than betting on the Steelers, Dolphins, and Texans. If you're tying them together, you're 2 out of 3 shot. You got to pick one. Matter of fact, bet the money line straight up. That way, once you see the red X next to it, you can just move on to the next money line. I'm not going to think about that. I'm not going to dwell on it. I'm just saying, in these negative temperatures in Kansas City, Andy Reid versus McDaniels. You already talked about some of his coaching mishaps leading into this football game. You are willing to bet on the Miami Dolphins, who haven't beat a team worth mentioning, in Kansas City against the Chiefs this week? I don't see it, bro.
I don't see the Chiefs. I think it's going to be a low-scoring affair. And I think the better running game is Miami, even with Devin Achane. Hopefully McDaniels learned his lesson and run the freaking rock, bro.
The Chiefs aren't going to get bounced until the divisional round.
Taylor Swift's going to show up and jinx this team.
And it's going to make Buffalo Bills fans very, very
happy. And after
happy.
this, don't be surprised Taylor Swift magically breaks up with Travis Kelce.
Buffalo Bills fans are going to be very, very happy because they are going to be the ones that have the honor of eliminating the Kansas City Chiefs this year. So I don't know how many tables that equals. I'm not sure how much ketchup and mustard will you pour it on the old guy.
So you got Ravens, Browns, Dolphins, Chiefs, second round.
In the second round of the playoffs, no, I have the Chiefs going up against the Bills, and I have the Browns going up against the Ravens. I have the Chiefs beating the Dolphins. I've got the Browns beating the Texans. I have Flacco returning to Baltimore in the divisional round for a loss. And I have the Buffalo Bills beating the Kansas City Chiefs because, remember, Kansas City has to travel to Buffalo. This game ain't going to be in Kansas City.
Kansas City needs a wild card.
You take them out of their natural habitat.
Kansas City needs a wild card team to win so they can have another playoff game.
Giants are probably heading for a divorce per Fox Sports. Well, Saquon Barkley and the Giants are heading for a divorce.
Yep, just released on
another scapegoat
for Fox Sports.
Problems. So if that's already leaked, then it's only a matter of time before, we're going to have to speculate where he could end up. But I'm saying right now, Kansas City is going to beat the Dolphins in Kansas City. And then they're going to have to travel. They're going to have to leave the comfort of Kansas City for a playoff game up in Buffalo, where that fan base has been waiting for this moment in time for a very long time. And honestly, at this point in time, this is where I would agree with your argument. When I'm comparing these two football teams, I'll say to myself, who's been playing better football at this point in time? Oh, the Buffalo Bills. And I would take the Bills over Kansas
City. Another thing, nothing's come out yet, but it will come out. Former Raiders head coach John Gruden's lawsuit against the NFL and Commissioner Roger Goodell was heard today in the Nevada Supreme Court. A lot of juicy stuff is to come. Be ready.
Oh, my God.
Oh, boy.
So the Raiders are going to fire Pierce. Honestly, based on what's coming, Pierce might want to just leave and not be associated with anything that has to do with the Raiders. And the league is going to make sure that Devontae Adams is out of there. They're going to make sure the Jets prosper next year. So your 2-seed pick of the Jets, run it back next year, because there's a good shot that Gang Green is going to make a run next year in the playoffs. But we're talking about this year. We're talking about the now. So as of right now, my AFC championship is the Buffalo Bills versus the Baltimore Ravens. Now, on the NFC side of things, and again, I'm putting my money where my mouth is with the picks that I have right here. The Packers traveling to Dallas. You talk about a team that's been waiting for a playoff game for a long, long time. You've got the Dez Bryant catch. You've got the, what was that cat's name in 2017, where he made the catch where his feet were both in bounds when they played each other in the playoffs. Forgot his name. Can't think of it right now. But the Packers.
Jalen Waddle and Raheem Mostert both had limited practices today.
Limited practice. Okay. Not bad. That helps the Dolphins' chances, but they're still taking the L. Dallas plays very, very, very well in Jerry World. They are actually 8-0 playing in Cowboy Stadium with Dolly Parton and the big star lighting up and all the sparkles and the shenanigans. Like, they are really good at home. The best possible scenario is that the Packers make it.
What's the over-under on sleeveless offensive line? I'm going to say there's going to be, out of all these lines in the cold this weekend, I'm going to say none of them wear sleeves.
I've got the Cowboys winning this football game.
So do I.
I've got the Cowboys exercising some of their demons when it comes to the Packers in the playoffs. And it might not be Aaron Rodgers, but it's still the Packers.
Defense is suspect as hell.
Yes.
Whether anybody wants to admit it or not.
The Carolina Panthers almost beat them.
I hear all. Listen, Jair Alexander hasn't played in like 2 weeks. They're heading for a divorce.
They're talking about drafting a cornerback to replace him already.
Yeah.
So the team is trying to rid themselves.
Yeah, it sounds like something happened, and he's done.
It sounds like multiple things happened.
Yeah, he's done there. That they're going to jettison
outside
him.
Of the
they're looking to trade him.
He's a little shot out too when you hear him talk. It's like he seems like he's a little. So
RJ, get used to losing your number. You're not going to have your guy this Sunday. CeeDee Lamb is going off.
I'm sure deep down RJ understands what's about to happen.
Oh no, we keep seeing the post.
The best
One Love.
I haven't.
What is it? 1-0. 1 Love. 10
Love. I haven't seen it for 24 hours. But you can't fool yourself into believing that the Packers are going to win it. But I guess it's similar to you when it comes to the Bills and the Steelers. Like you believe you have a better shot than you actually do.
I believe because there's a guy that we're playing that's thrown that has been culpable of 22 turnovers this year.
And Dak Prescott is a total choke artist, but this week it won't be this week.
No, not at all.
He's not going to choke in Dallas.
Listen, Dallas.
It's not going to happen.
Hear me out.
Oh, here we go. Go ahead, say it. Super Bowl.
Dallas has the opportunity to at least make the NFC Championship
They do.
game.
They do.
I'm going to tell you why.
I'll give you that.
They're going to win Sunday. The Rams are going to beat Detroit.
It'll be Rams going to Dallas.
Philly's going to beat the Bucks. Or it doesn't matter. Philly or Bucks.
It's a woozy. It's a
Let's be real.
That game.
So then next week, Dallas hosts Another playoff game. If it's Philly, they're gonna knock the bricks off of Philly. If it's the Bucks, they're gonna knock the bricks off of the Bucks.
It won't be Philly because if Philly and the Rams win, they'd play the Rams.
No, they will not.
Philly is the 5th seed.
Yeah, but the Rams are the 6th seed. The lowest seed's gonna go play the highest seed.
So I already.
So then next week it will be Philly Dallas or Buccaneers Dallas, and no matter what, it'll be the Rams Niners. So
my playoff bracket's already in shambles.
The NFC Championship game, quite possibly, could be Dallas versus 49ers, and we know what's going to happen after that. Sorry, Nick. I'm
going to tell you what playoff bracket.
Getting to the NFC Championship game, that's a big step.
Maybe I'll wait till next week to tell you because I don't think you're going to listen to reason this week. I was going to tell you to put in a playoff bracket, which includes the Cowboys losing in the NFC title game.
Do.
The booking to that requires you guys losing to the Bills this week.
What I did.
I'll send you what I got.
I got the Bills. I got the Bills, Dolphins, Texans winning this weekend. Then next weekend, I got the Texans beating the Bills. And I got the Ravens beating the Dolphins. I got the Ravens beating the Texans. I put the Ravens in the Super Bowl.
You think the Ravens are going to the Super Bowl?
And I picked them to beat the Niners and win.
You got the Ravens winning the Super Bowl? Yeah, I don't even have that. You're weird, man.
Why not? I'm being honest.
Okay, so I have.
However,
we talked about it a little bit.
If Pittsburgh makes it past the first round,
you got Pittsburgh going to the Super Bowl.
You're fucking A.
You got to. I understand. I won't be texting you too much while your game is happening because I know you're probably not going to be very talkative. I told him I'm going to open the lounge Sunday.
I know Sunday's going to be. The lounge is going to be open Sunday. I got no problem with the lounge being open. But anybody who cracks on the Steelers if they're getting their ass whooped, I'm going to have fun with whoever's here and their team's losing.
When it comes to putting money on it, I already know who I'm putting my money on. And I'm also putting my money on the Rams to beat the Lions, which we talked about a little bit earlier. And I was saying that way before Detroit started doing weird shit.
Hey, I'll be happy if Detroit wins. That keeps me looking like a genius.
I had them being
the longer Detroit goes, the longer I look like a genius and not a madman.
Listen, it was a great year for
Hey, Terrell.
Like it was an awesome year for
Are the Eagles better than the Lions?
Right now, no.
I was told I was crazy to think otherwise.
I have more confidence in the Eagles won't be able to go to Detroit and execute. I don't think so. Now, you take them to Philly, it's a closer game. But the way the Eagles
Philly cannot host a playoff game because they're a wild card team.
And they're traveling to Tampa Bay, and that is out of all the wild card games, that is the wild card of the wild card games.
I expect Baker to be Baker
because
that's why I think Philly wins.
Both of these teams can beat each other. And I wouldn't be surprised if either team wins.
I could picture Baker throwing 3 picks in the first half and digging a huge.
I don't see him throwing 3 picks because who the hell is going to catch him on the other side?
That's true.
You're talking about an Eagles secondary that has been absolutely garbage, and I don't think that changes in the span of.
Credit to Todd Bowles, man. Todd Bowles took this team to the playoffs. We all thought they were going to be the drizzling shits without Tom Brady. I mean, they went to the play. Yeah, they won the championship in their division last year, but it was an 8-9 record. Like people forget that.
I have zero excuses for either team if they lose. You have one team that was 10-1 and has completely shit the bed across the board, and you have a Bucs team that they have the talent.
The last 2 weeks they haven't put points up.
They have the talent to beat the Eagles. Who is stopping Mike Evans on the Eagles side?
Chris Godwin.
Even Chris Godwin. Who's stopping those guys?
I got a name for you to watch out this week.
Rashad White. Cade Otton. Rashad White. Because let's be honest, the Eagles' run defense ain't what it was about a month and a half ago. They're not scary. I saw James Conner go out there and put 2 touchdowns on him, didn't he?
The Eagle Bulldogs. What happened to
they're
the
not-
Georgia Bulldogs? The Georgia Eagles.
The
Georgia Eagles, remember?
The Eagles' offense is not good. Jalen Hurts just had 55 passing yards and got benched.
Chris,
He
you're
gave it to the
right.
Giants.
I agree. If Baker can keep his shit together, not turn the ball over, score touchdowns in the red zone instead of settling for field goals, I do believe the Bucs will win.
Can the Eagles defense rattle Baker Mayfield enough for him to be able to make some of those old school Baker type of mistakes?
If Baker gets on a roll, he's a streaky player. Like when he's hot, he's hot. And it's possible, but
and you know who's not on a roll? Jalen Hurts. And this team already eliminated him.
The
from
last
the
3
playoffs
Eagle
before.
quarterbacks to sign contract extensions: Sam Bradford. Matter of fact, I can go one deep. Michael Vick, Sam Bradford, Carson Wentz, Jalen Hurts, all had good years, and then
And maybe the Panthers showed a little bit more moxie because they knew that it was their final game of the year. But at the
Tell me
same
about it, Chris.
time,
I had anytime touchdown Mike Evans against the Panthers.
at the same time,
Who would have thought that wasn't
y'all
going to happen?
struggled to score. Baker was banged up. It was an ugly football game.
Sunday was
That
ugly.
the Bucks, all across.
I had
board.
I had the 4 games on,
oh,
and I was watching. And
all
I'm just
ugly.
looking at it, going, "What the hell?"
all ugly, all ugly, bro.
This game could be a very ugly game Monday.
But I picked Philly to win.
I think it's hilarious. Eagle fans are telling me how great of a coach Nick Sirianni was last year, leading into this year.
Last year was
And
a
now
flash
they
in
all
the pan.
want to run him out of town.
Because last year was a flash in the pan. Last year, you didn't realize that Sirianni was in over his head. Beginner's luck is a real thing. Some coaches take over and they win a lot of games their first season. Hell, they even get to the Super Bowl and lose, just like Sirianni did. And then what do you follow that up with? The season that we got.
In the words of Alexi Mercado, we spanked the Eagles number ones. So bad they took them out after that.
Eagles had something to play for. And once Sirianni realized the football game was out of reach against the New York Giants, he benched everybody.
That was supposed to be the get-right game.
The fact that the game was out of hand against the New York Giants tells you everything you need to know about the trajectory of this football team, which means, that doesn't necessarily disqualify you from making it past Wildcard weekend, but your chances of getting any further beyond that are slim to none. Bucks can definitely win this week. They can definitely win this week.
I mean, I also picked Philly because I want the Dallas-Philly game. Because the traction it's going to get in the forum is going to be undeniably great.
Nice. We're going to get
our views next week will be even higher than ever.
Yes.
The comments will be even crazier. If I could go on location, I'd go on location next week.
I am on the record saying I'm picking Philly here, but if I had the opportunity to log into my sports book and make a second bracket, I put Tampa in there because this is the wild card of all wild cards. Is this game right here? They're both, the Eagles and the Bucks are equals, dog. They're equals. Eagles are not that much better than the Bucks, and the Bucks are not that much better than the Eagles.
Like I said,
and it all comes down to Monday Night Football.
Man. Todd Bowles got the Bucks in the playoffs, won another South Division championship, 3rd year in a row, did it without Tom Brady, and did it with Baker freaking Mayfield.
If you think the Forum is going to be crazy if Eagles play Dallas, imagine the Forum this weekend if the Eagles get bounced by the Bucks. Imagine the firestorm of people that will turn on Jalen Hurts openly that aren't willing to do it yet, but are going to turn on him the minute that he throws that second.
I got Eagle fans saying Sirianni's got to go, and I said, Sirianni got to go now? And they were like, he's not that good. I said, you were just praising his ass before the year started. He was the man. He was smart.
Not before.
No, I didn't. I said, man, I'm gonna start. I told them from now on, I'm gonna bring a voice recorder.
You gotta record,
and
Eagles
I'm gonna
fans,
record them.
and you gotta have screenshots of what Eagles fans say because they will deny. They will deny.
That's the great thing about
their game.
Our group chat that we got. I could go back into August and just start throwing everything that Terrell was saying.
Terrell knows that the Eagles aren't good, though. He's come out and
Finally.
he's come out.
Finally.
He was wearing the blinders for a while, but it's gotten so ugly that he can't even wear the blinders anymore. Like, he understands the severity of where his team
y'all were
is.
10-1 and finished 11-6. You have one more win than the Pittsburgh Steelers.
We're talking about
one more win than the crap-ass Steelers that everybody makes fun about.
We're talking about Philly making the trip back to Tampa 2 years removed from being eliminated in Tampa Bay.
Where the Tampa Bay defense said Hurts can't read a defense.
They know he can't. They know he, and guess what? He cannot read a defense. He can't. He doesn't know how. He will throw the same exact interception every time, which means that if your coverage unit is on point and in the right place, you already know where he's going, how he's going to go there, because he's got his eyes locked on his target. Before the snap, his mind is made up. And if that happens
when they were 10-1, I was told he's the MVP favorite, and I laughed.
Yeah, where's his odds now? Can anybody point them out to me? He's so low to the ground, dude. If the Eagles win this week, it's because of their defense.
I said all year this team looks suspect. Everybody kept shitting on me except you.
I will rain holy hell.
You just told me, dude, they're still winning. And I used to be like, dude, there's something off on this team. And then finally you came around to it in like November where you were like, yeah, something don't feel right.
It got ridiculous after a couple of weeks.
And that was while they were still winning where you were like, dude.
But they were still doing some of the same shit they were doing while they were winning.
Uh-huh.
It was just a question of now everybody else adjusted to your game and jumped the gun on you. And now you're tush pushing.
They blew their load. I remember the first excuses, we're tired, man. You saw that gauntlet we did? What did you expect from us?
They went through.
Then it was, oh, Jalen's hurt. It's his knee, man. Now to finally saying, we suck. It was a woozy. It was a wazy. It's not real.
That wild card game literally changes the playoff picture as far as the NFC side goes, because I feel like either of those teams can win. And whoever wins that Monday night game is going to lose the following week. I'm just going to clear that up right now. I have no confidence in that team going any further than the divisional round. The divisional round separates the pretenders from the contenders. We are about to see several choke jobs.
The NFC Championship game is going to be the Dallas Cowboys versus the 49ers. The AFC Championship game in my eyes is Texans versus Ravens.
I screwed it up. I've got the which means if I have the Rams and the 49ers, that means I would need the Bucs to win in order to keep my bracket intact, more or less. Because what they do is they're going to give you a percentage of money based on how much you got right. If you fall into a certain percentile of the brackets, you're going to win a certain amount.
How much you put in?
Even if you, I did $3.
Oh.
So I didn't do anything too crazy. I was thinking about doing something crazier, but then circumstances became insane, and so that's my only bet for the playoff bracket, and I will be keeping an eye on all of it that happens. Crazy to think Browns, Texans, and Lions all in the playoffs in the same year.
It is.
Yep.
Get used to it. It could be the new norm.
It is. You know, you got a Browns defense that's top 5, and you've got Lions.
Here's a hot take.
Lions and Texans teams that are going to be competitive.
If Deshaun Watson was a quarterback all year, they don't make the playoffs.
He's been trash, bro. Like, I'm sorry, he's been trash. He was putting the whole team at a deficit with his play. There's things that PJ Walker and Dorian Thompson were doing that not even Deshaun Watson was able to do in order for the team to do what they needed to just win.
I really believe if Watson was there the whole year, they don't go to the playoffs.
I might actually be most excited for that game out of all of them, Browns and Texans, because I think that might be one of the best games on the slate. It's the first game on the slate. And also because I'm not totally sure of what's going to happen when you've seen how C.J. Stroud has looked out there and you've seen how the Browns defense has looked. Now, history does not favor the rookie quarterbacks going in and getting that W, but there are a couple of rookie quarterbacks who did do it. It's not impossible. It just weighs more towards the other side. So if anything, C.J. Stroud has an opportunity to add to his legacy and put his name in the history books and get Houston a playoff win in Houston. Who would have thought, 2 years ago that we were going to have a wild card playoff game between the Browns and the Texans when we look at where they were at that point in time. Before the heist that took place where the Browns just fleeced. Well, the Texans fleeced the Browns. I'm sorry. I had it mixed up. Texans fleeced the Browns. And now we have the game that we have. Joe Flacco does have that offense rolling right now. And Joe Flacco just keeps throwing the ball. And there's not much of a remedy for that because he's throwing the ball, getting touchdowns and interceptions. He's just going back there and he's still slinging it. Because not for nothing, without Nick Chubb, you can't rely on the Browns running game. Like, yeah, they're decent, but it's not Nick Chubb. He's not the reason.
Flacco's got to carry the load.
Dog, look at David Njoku and what he's done. It's not just Amari Cooper. David Njoku has gone out there, and as soon as he gets the ball in his hands, he becomes like a Derrick Henry, where it's like he in his prime, where like he won't go down, getting huge chunks of yardage. So if I'm the Texans, I'm definitely trying to strategize a game plan for David Njoku because he's been a huge part of those 300-yard passing games from Flacco. Like, we all remember the stellar performances from Amari Cooper, but, like, Njoku was wide open in all those games, running down the middle of the field. Remember the Jets' vaunted defense?
Me and Alex had a conversation about Njoku, too, today, where I was like, dude, this is the best year ever. It took him, 8 years to get to that?
I want to see if C.J. Stroud can go out there and have another 75-yard bomb like he did against the freaking Colts, because now we're cooking. If that happens again this week, it's like, okay, this kid is matchup proof. Like, it doesn't matter. But, like, it's two different animals comparing those two. It's apples to oranges. The Colts, and a lot of it was, you saw Steichen barking at Gardner Minshew, talking about how it was his fault in some of the plays. Like, Gardner Minshew was having a rough day.
Poor Goodson against crying his eyes out, blaming himself when, dude, it wasn't your fault. That was a piss poor pass. Nah, bro.
I'll blame
that
Minshew.
Ball was way behind. Because then if you look as Minshew's coming over, Steichen's looking at like, that is on you.
I think he should have caught it. I'm sorry. I think
that was a tough ball, man.
But Minshew was
if
trash.
Minshew puts that ball in front of him, it's first down.
Minshew's argument,
however,
is flattened by the fact that
why
he only
is
had
Zach Moss or Jonathan Taylor not out there?
Minshew only had 144 passing yards. So, 144 passing yards. Pittman, not as involved as I thought he was going to be. And not for nothing, Jonathan Taylor, on the same token, like after the touchdown, like just their offense was flat. Their offense was flat. And I also believe that the way C.J. Stroud set the tone for that football game with the 75-yard bomb had the Colts on their heels the rest of the way. They never recovered because if you remember, their following possession, I believe, was a punt. And then it went on from there. Whereas like they weren't able to match what the Texans were able to do on their side. Nico Collins, 9 receptions, 100-plus yards, touchdown. Like, they had no answer for him. You're definitely dealing with a better secondary in the Browns. However, I am just very, very intrigued by that matchup. I'm intrigued by that. I'm excited for the Rams versus Lions.
It's like you said,
because I want to see what they look like.
They're not playing Davis Mills.
Yeah, you have no prior experience with this rookie. And that's the edge that I give to Houston in that situation where, like, if that kid comes out there ready to sling it, dog, like, we know Flacco's going to throw. So we're talking about potentially what could end up being a situation where you negate defense and have the shootout of the weekend. We're not expecting the Chiefs and Dolphins to score a lot. Rams and Lions has upset written all over it as far as the over-under goes. Because they're gonna light up the scoreboard. Nah, dog. Like McVay,
they worry me with
McVay's gonna shut that shit down.
The whole Matt Stafford jersey ban, not putting Matt Stafford's wife in a suite, that worries me.
McVay gonna make this game boring, and it's gonna be a slow, painful death for a team that has been waiting to host a playoff game.
A number 7 seed still hasn't won a playoff game since this format was introduced.
Who's the 7 and
the Packers and the Steelers.
Yeah, it's not going to happen this year either. I'm sorry. It's just not. We can only hope for competitive football games. Moxie. That's it. That's all you can hope for. It's just some moxie. I have to go with the recent data and what that's showing me. And I'm riding with the home teams in those instances. I think the only away team that I have the Rams and I have the Browns. And that's it. And Philly, but that's like, it's woozy, it's a wazi, bro. Philly's a woozy and the Bucks are a wazi. And they're both the same. You know? But like Browns and Rams, I'll take outright as like, making the trip, making the upset.
Okay.
And if you're a Detroit Lions fan, deep down in your heart, is this really an upset? Like, you got to know what's coming. You're excited. You're elated. You've been excited the entirety of the season. It's that you know that this team is going to not just be competitive this year, but next year and the year after that. You already know you guys are going to be good. You're going to be an 11, 12 win football team like you were this year. But you got to know deep down what's about to happen. You couldn't write it any better. Vince Russo couldn't book this better if it was 1998. You think Matthew Stafford is about to go in there and lose to you guys with Goff's old head coach? No, bro. I'm sorry. I'm not here to speak.
Damn, the Cowboys have finished 12-5 3 years in a row.
And lose to the 49ers every
Both
year.
Yeah.
and if it comes down to that NFC title game, I'm picking the 49ers again. Because I told you what my AFC championship was going to be. Bills over the Ravens in Baltimore. My NFC championship as of right now is 49ers over the Rams in San Francisco, or wherever the hell they play, which sets up my Super Bowl matchup, the matchup that I booked for last year's NFL preseason predictions. I've got the 49ers beating the Buffalo Bills and winning a 6th NFL Super Bowl. Yeah, with Brock Purdy and all those guys and Shanahan. I think the 49ers do it this year. This is the best team that they've had in a couple of years. If not now, then never. They had a good shot last year, and circumstances just they fell apart like our fence did in the back last night during the storm. This year, though, the fact that they have the number 1 seed and the bye
Don't worry, guys. There's a Buffalo
them.
sauce boycott in Pittsburgh right now, and there's a pierogi boycott in Buffalo. How petty is this?
Stupid, bro. Just eat what you like. Eat what you like and wear what you want. Because at the end of the day, it's not going to make a difference, and it's not going to save any of your football teams. I used to have certain superstitions. I used to wear certain things thinking that it was going to help my chances. It doesn't matter, bro. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who you put on the money line. That doesn't matter. Your props don't matter. It's all about if you are favored on that day. It's all about being on the money on the day that you have to be on the money. We are on the money podcast and on the money sports every single day. But I'm talking about being on the money when it comes to some of these predictions. We've been predicting now for almost a decade what we think is going to happen in these games. And every year we get things right, we get things wrong. That's the beauty of what we do. We still show face. We don't disappear. We don't hide. We don't deactivate our accounts. We're here through the thick and the thin to continue to bring you what we have for you. And next week is going to be no different. The only difference next week is that we will have a few more answers to the questions that we had this week. Maybe we'll have a couple more answers as far as some of these coaching vacancies. Maybe there'll be more coaching vacancies. Conversations, interviews, conversations that may or may not have happened on the record until the legal tampering period. And we are going to have our divisional round of the playoffs booked and ready to break down.
Where the hell is...
Somebody's going to
trying to find an update on scores.
Somebody's going to pull off a stunt this weekend. Somebody's going to prove us wrong. Somebody's going to come out and have the game of their lives. It's going to happen.
Philly and Atlanta's in overtime. They're winning by 3 right now, 132 to 129. I wonder what the points look like on that.
I don't know. Cause
I'm going to tell you right now.
Basketball has not been kind to me. Once I'm able to get back into my account.
Tobias has 32 points. Maxey has 35. I guess Joel Embiid didn't play today.
Embiid's out.
And for them doing this, that's not bad, man.
Kind of pissed at you guys for losing to the Knicks the other day because that kind of messed things up.
Yeah, I couldn't. We got rocked.
Yeah. It wasn't just a loss.
It was ugly.
Knicks have been hot though. Knicks have been rolling lately. They're. It feels like the trade they made with the Raptors actually worked out for both teams. When you look at, how they've played.
Damn, I should have started Tobias today. 48 points fantasy.
Those of you who are part of Supreme Baller Society, if you can just keep me updated on my scores through the weekend, because I have no access to that information right now until further notice. I knew I was up on RJ heading into today, but I also have a lot of guys playing today.
The Ministry of Mid is 155, and RJ has nobody playing yet.
Okay.
You got 50 from SGA.
I knew that.
38 from James Harden. 43 from Wemby.
Nice, Wemby.
24 from Bogdanovich.
I started him on the wrong day. I should have started him yesterday. He had like 40.
Yeah.
He had 40. In that game
against, RJ took like all the players that I would normally have.
So, with that, ladies and gentlemen, another edition of All the Money Podcast is in the books. A super Wildcard weekend edition. We had a lot to cover, a lot to break down with these football games. It's going to be no different next week. Only difference is we're going to be adding some basketball and whatever news we have.
And the differences will be down to 8 teams.
We'll be down to 8 teams.
And one less week of football left.
A clearer picture as far as what the AFC and NFC championships will look like. Maybe some questions compared to as far as the teams that are still alive and what we think their chances are of advancing to the AFC and NFC title game. It all changes. It's football. We know it's an ongoing novella that changes each and every single week, but the one thing that won't change is the fact that the On the Money Sports Podcast will be back. Same time, same place next week to bring you all the latest in the sports world. Basketball heads, get ready because your time of year is coming up. I've been watching more basketball. It's been disgusting, and I've not been enjoying it, but I'm still doing it. I'm doing it in part for you, part for myself, but in part for you. So we're going to be talking more basketball as we get into the halfway point of the season, the heart of the NBA season, and slowly getting ourselves ready for baseball season because that's coming too. Pitchers and catchers are going to be reporting soon.
Yes, they will.
And we're also going to be giving our good takes and our bad takes as far as some of our adventures in the wagering aspect of sports betting, which is not something that you normally saw on the Money Sports last couple of years because I wasn't doing it. Oscar did it from time to time. I was watching Mike D and RJ and those guys dabble before I got myself into it, but now I'm into it. I suck at doing basketball, but now I'm in. I got to give myself a fair shot at baseball. So some of the conversations that we have around some of these teams might be player-centric based on some of the production that these players have been giving to this point in time. So if anything, we might have an easier time tracking who deserves to be the MVPs and have those MVP discussions sort of like we had this year with football, but in the other realms of the sports world.
Absolutely.
So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, this has been another edition of On the Money Podcast. That's all money. I'm Irrational. I'll see you guys same time, same place.
Enjoy Wildcard.